Think about that for a moment. A quarter, just 25 cents, tossed around in vending machines, parking meters, and grocery store change, suddenly revealed to be a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. The 1981 Mint Mark Washington quarter, an ordinary-looking coin to the untrained eye, hides secrets that have stunned even the most seasoned coin dealers. At first glance, this quarter doesn't look rare. Billions were minted in Philadelphia in 1981. People carried them in their pockets, used them for bus fares, dropped them into piggy banks. And yet, out of those billions, a microscopic fraction carries the kind of mistakes, the kind of extraordinary details, that transform it from pocket change into $1 million miracle. That's the terrifying part. Most people already have. You see, in the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint was rushing production. Demand for quarters was skyrocketing. Machines ran day and night, stamping out Washington's face by the millions. And when machines work at that speed, mistakes happen. The kind of mistakes that slip past inspectors, escape into circulation, and decades later become the stuff of legend. Collectors call them hidden treasures. Dealers call them life changers. And one man in Pennsylvania simply called it, the luckiest day of my life. Because he found one dot. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The man had no idea what he was holding. Just another quarter he thought he'd toss into a vending machine. But something caught his eye. The date looked slightly doubled, the letters weren't clean, and Washington's profile seemed off. Almost like the coin was whispering its secret, begging not to be spent. That he took it to a local dealer. At first, the dealer laughed. It's a 1981 quarter, nothing special. But then, the magnifying glass came out. And silence fell across the shop. The doubling was real. The minting flaw was undeniable. And this was no ordinary quarter. It was one of the rarest known surviving error coins from the Philadelphia Mint. Word spread fast. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling to verify it. And when it hit auction, the numbers climbed higher than anyone expected. What started as a 25-cent coin quickly pushed into the tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, and finally, to the unthinkable, close to $1 million. But here's the chilling truth. That wasn't the only one. That means more are still out there. In jars, in drawers, in forgotten rolls of quarters hiding in basements. And most people will never know, because they'll spend them without a second glance. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 1981 Washington quarter has specific markers. Some show dramatic doubling on the date or lettering. Others have weak strikes, where Washington's hair details blur into the background. And the rarest have minting flaws so subtle that only a trained eye can spot them. But once spotted, the coin's value skyrockets. Dealers are rushing to grab these coins before the public catches on. Auction houses are whispering about private sales that never hit the headlines. And collectors, they're digging through old boxes like treasure hunters on a deadline, because the clock is ticking. Every year, more of these coins are lost, damaged, or overlooked. Every year, another potential $1 million quarter vanishes forever. You open a forgotten coin jar, pour the quarters into your hand, and there it is. At first, you don't even realize. It looks normal, just like the others. But under the light, something unusual catches your eye. The date doesn't look right. The edges shimmer differently. And suddenly, your heart races. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Yours could too. Collectors who've studied these coins say the most important thing is detail. Always check the date. Look closely at the 1981. Any signs of doubling, distortion, or stretching could be the jackpot. Then, check Washington's profile. The Philadelphia Mint in 1981 had striking issues, meaning some coins were pressed off-center or with weak detail. These errors are what separate a common quarter from a rare fortune. A full mint error combined with exceptional condition. If the coin escaped scratches, dings, and circulation wear, its value multiplies dramatically. That's when you cross into six figures, or even the $1 million territory. Collectors were stunned when the first one hit auction. They couldn't believe such a modern quarter could command that kind of price. But history was made that day, and the legend of the 1981 Washington quarter was born. And here's the most incredible part: experts believe many of these coins are still unaccounted for, billions minted, a handful discovered, and countless more waiting quietly in change jars across America. That means every time you get a quarter back in change, every time you open an old roll of coins, every time you search through your drawer, you could be holding one of the rarest coins in US history. But you must know what to look for. So let's make this simple. To identify the 1981 Washington quarter worth up to $1 million, focus on three things. 1. The Philadelphia P mint mark, no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco proof issues. 2. Doubling on the date or lettering, especially the numbers 1 and 9. And 3. Unusual striking flaws, off-center designs, weak hair details, or even coins that appear stretched or shadowed. Miss these details, and you might spend it without ever realizing. But spot them, and you might be holding one of the most valuable modern quarters ever made. So the next time a 1981 quarter lands in your hand, don't dismiss it. Don't rush to spend it. Look closer, because this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. At first glance, it looked like any ordinary quarter, the kind you'd use for a parking meter, a vending machine, or a quick game at the arcade. But hidden in its silver sheen was a secret that would change everything for the collector who stumbled upon it. A coin struck in Philadelphia in 1996, carrying a tiny P mint mark, a quarter so rare, so extraordinary, that it has stunned even the most seasoned numismatists. But how could a simple quarter from the 1990s, a coin millions of us have held in our pockets, be worth more than $1 million? The answer lies in a hidden mistake, a flaw that wasn't supposed to happen, a detail so small that most people will never notice it. And yet, that microscopic difference is what separates a common 25-cent piece from a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. Collectors were shocked when the story first broke. Dealers couldn't believe it. A 1996 quarter, a coin most people would overlook as spare change, suddenly catapulted into the world of million-dollar treasures. And it all started with a mistake at the Philadelphia Mint, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One man, sorting through his change late one evening, almost tossed the quarter aside. But something caught his eye. The shine looked different. The strike seemed sharper. He leaned closer, turning the coin under the light, and that's when he noticed the tiniest anomaly near the mint mark. That quarter would go on to sell at auction for a staggering amount, climbing past hundreds of thousands and finally closing in at over $1 million. The crowd was silent. Then came the applause, the gasps, the disbelief. Dealers rushed to re-examine their collections, terrified they might have overlooked a fortune hiding in plain sight. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 1996 Washington quarter, in its ordinary state, isn't rare at all. Over 1.5 billion were struck. But here's the twist: a handful of coins were minted with errors. Some carried double strikes. Some had off-center minting. Others revealed missing details in Washington's profile or irregularities in the lettering. But the crown jewel, the one that shook the hobby to its core, was struck on the wrong planchet, a coin pressed onto a blank that wasn't meant for it. Imagine a quarter that weighs differently, feels different, and holds a mysterious glow under inspection. That's the kind of mistake that can turn spare change into $1 million miracle. But the story doesn't stop there. In 2013, whispers began spreading through numismatic circles. A collector claimed to have discovered another 1996 quarter with the same bizarre anomaly. Experts dismissed it at first. How could lightning strike twice? But when the coin was authenticated, jaws dropped. Suddenly, the hunt was on. Across the country, collectors began tearing through rolls of quarters from banks, searching for their own treasure. Many believe there are still undiscovered examples out there, sitting quietly in old jars, tucked away in dresser drawers, or forgotten in coffee cans filled with loose change. It's the combination of perfection and imperfection. The coin must carry the Philadelphia P mint mark. It must show no wear, no scratches, no fingerprints. Its surface must gleam with the untouched brilliance of a coin that never truly circulated. And then, the anomaly. That rare, specific minting error that transforms it from a common 25-cent piece into a $1 million treasure, collectors describe the moment of discovery as electric. Your heart races. Your hands tremble. You flip the coin again and again, afraid to believe what you're seeing. Could it really be one of them? Could you be holding history, and a fortune, between your fingers? But here's where it gets even more fascinating. The Washington quarter, first introduced in 1932, was meant to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. It was never supposed to become a coin of legends. For decades, it passed quietly through hands across America, buying lunches, bus rides, and groceries. By 1996, it was considered so ordinary that nobody imagined it could hold any extraordinary secrets. And yet, fate had other plans. One collector's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, but you might be wondering, how do you spot one of these rare 1996 mint mark treasures yourself? First, always check the mint mark. If it's a Philadelphia P, you're in the right territory. Then, study the coin closely under bright light. Look for unusual thickness in the letters. Look for double impressions, especially in the word Liberty or in Washington's eye. Feel the weight. Does it seem lighter or heavier than a normal quarter? And most importantly, check the edges. Many of these error coins reveal subtle irregularities along the rim that separate them from the billions of ordinary ones. But what happened when word got out shocked the hobby. After the $1 million sale, fakes began flooding the market. Counterfeiters tried to alter common quarters to mimic the rare error. They added false doubling. They scraped the edges. They tried to pass off ordinary coins as legends. But experts warn, only certified grading can confirm a true $1 million quarter. Without authentication, the risk is enormous. Still, the dream persists. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors are obsessed. And everyday people, like you, are still searching through their change, hoping lightning might strike in their favor. The rarest coins don't always come from centuries ago. They don't always look old or worn. Sometimes, the most valuable coin of all is the one that looks just like the one in your pocket right now. So tonight, when you empty your change onto the counter, look closely. Don't dismiss that 1996 quarter. Because hidden among the ordinary could be the extraordinary. And hidden in the ordinary could be over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in someone's pocket change. A forgotten quarter, just 25 cents, tossed onto a counter, nearly lost to time. But when it resurfaced, it didn't buy a soda or a pack of gum, it shocked the entire collecting world by selling for nearly $1.2 million. And the most unbelievable part? It was a 1997 Washington quarter, with a tiny P mint mark that most people never noticed at first glance. It looks like every other quarter you've held in your hands. The proud portrait of George Washington. The familiar eagle on the reverse. Nothing seems extraordinary. But hidden in the details of this 1997 P mint mark Washington quarter is a secret that turned an ordinary piece of change into a fortune. And tonight, you're about to learn how collectors still whisper about the discovery. A man, going through a small stack of coins from his pocket, stopped when he noticed something odd. He didn't know it yet, but the coin he held would change his life forever. What he found wasn't just rare. It was nearly impossible. A flaw in the minting process, a slip in history, a mistake so subtle that thousands of people missed it. But once revealed, it stunned experts, dealers, and collectors alike. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. You see, in 1997, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Washington quarters. Most of them are worth face value, just 25 cents. They're everywhere. They're ordinary. But within that ocean of ordinary coins, a handful slipped through with a mistake so unique, they became legendary. Some were double-struck. Others showed faint off-center designs. And then, a select few revealed something even stranger, a flaw so dramatic that it transformed the coin from pocket change into treasure. The lettering, the strike, the metal composition itself, small imperfections turned these coins into million-dollar miracles. One coin in particular became the talk of the town. At auction, bidding wars erupted. Collectors shouted over one another, desperate to hold what others had overlooked. A coin that could have been spent at a gas station, suddenly fetched over $1 million under the bright lights of the auction block, and here's the haunting truth: there are still more out there. Waiting. Hiding. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. On the 1997 P. Washington quarter, some examples display a striking anomaly in the way the P. mint mark was placed. The pressings were inconsistent. The alignment shifted. And in rare cases, the strike itself left doubling or distortion across the date and lettering. These tiny slips in the minting process transformed a quarter into a treasure chest. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. Word spread quickly. People dug through jars, boxes, and even the change cup in their cars. And every time one of these rare quarters surfaced, the price climbed higher, the excitement grew louder, and the legend of the 1997 P quarter deepened. But here's where it gets even wilder. One collector in Pennsylvania found his in a handful of change from a grocery store. At first, he thought nothing of it. Just another coin. But as he studied the mint mark under a magnifying glass, his heart began to race. He recognized the doubling. He saw the faint shadow around the date. He knew what he was holding. Days later, at auction, his 25-cent coin turned into nearly $1.2 million. Think about that. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yet, the story doesn't end there. Every year, more people uncover strange errors in their 1997 P quarters. Some are dramatic, full double strikes. Others are subtle, like a faint off-center design or misaligned mint mark. But the values? They're skyrocketing. Even lesser errors can fetch thousands, sometimes tens of thousands. Collectors are rushing. Dealers are hunting. Treasure is being uncovered in plain sight. They're still spending them. Still tossing them aside. Still letting fortune slip through their fingers. That's why I'm telling you this tonight, because the difference between an ordinary 25-cent coin and $1 million quarter comes down to one thing: knowledge. And now you have it. Start with the mint mark. On the obverse, just next to Washington's ponytail, you'll see the small p. Study it closely. If the mint mark looks doubled, misaligned, or unusually bold, you may have something special. Next, examine the date. Doubling in the digits of 1997 is another key sign. Tilt the coin under light. Look for shadows, overlaps, or faint distortions. Then, check the strike itself. Is the design slightly off-center? Is there extra metal, or an unusual rim? Each of these clues could mean your coin isn't ordinary at all, and remember, condition matters. A flawless example, crisp and bright, will always command higher bids. But even worn versions of the rare errors have sold for life-changing sums. Imagine it. Tonight, you dig into your change jar, pull out a 1997 P quarter, and under the light, you spot that doubling. You spot that flaw. Your heart pounds. Your hands shake. And in that moment, you realize you might be holding $1 million in the palm of your hand. Collectors were shocked when this coin first surfaced. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. And now, you know the truth that most people overlook. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when it was finally discovered, it shocked the entire coin world, and sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine holding a simple quarter. Just 25 cents. The kind of coin that slips through your fingers every single day, jingling in your pocket, tossed in a tip jar, forgotten in the cracks of your couch. But what if I told you that one of those plain, ordinary-looking 1980 Washington quarters, struck with a P mint mark in Philadelphia, could actually be worth up to $1.3 million? Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to their phones. Auction houses lit up with bids that seemed impossible. And all of it came down to one tiny coin that most people would have spent without thinking twice. Why did a coin from 1980, a year that feels so modern compared to older treasures, become one of the most valuable quarters in American history? The truth is stranger, darker, and more dramatic than anyone expected, because in 1980, the Philadelphia Mint had just begun stamping the P Mint mark onto its quarters for the very first time. Before then, quarters from Philadelphia carried no mint mark at all. That tiny new letter, P, was supposed to be simple, almost meaningless. But hidden inside that change was a mistake, a flaw, an accident of history that would create $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector, flipping through a box of old change at a flea market, spotted something odd. A 1980 quarter, dull and worn, but with a glimmer that felt different. He turned it in the light, and noticed doubling on the date. A doubled die. Clear as day. The numbers, 1980, seemed to dance and shimmer, as if struck twice by the minting press. At first, he thought it was his imagination. But when he looked closer, he realized he had stumbled upon one of the rarest minting errors of the modern era. Collectors were shocked. Dealers whispered about it like a ghost story. Could it be true? Could an ordinary pocket change quarter carry an error so dramatic, so rare, that it would rewrite the value of modern coinage? And then, the auction hammer fell. That very coin, verified by top grading companies, crossed the block. Bidders pushed the price higher, higher, and higher still. Until, finally, the gavel came down on a number no one thought possible, nearly $1.3 million, but the story doesn't end there. Because once that sale hit the headlines, everyone, collectors, dealers, even casual coin hunters, began tearing through their change, desperately searching for another. And here's the shocking truth, more could still be out there. Sitting in coffee cans. Forgotten in dresser drawers. Hiding in plain sight, this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it, the doubling on the date and lettering. The subtle shift on the obverse side of the coin. And sometimes, even rarer, a striking error where the P mint mark itself appears doubled or distorted. That tiny mistake, overlooked by the mint, is now the difference between a quarter worth 25 cents, and a life-changing fortune. But let me pull you deeper into the mystery. Because the 1980 quarter wasn't just special for its mint mark. It was born in an era of transition. America was battling inflation. The mint was under pressure to produce billions of coins, faster than ever before. Quality control slipped. Dies wore down. And in the chaos of mass production, a few strange, almost impossible coins slipped through the cracks. Collectors describe holding one of these rare 1980p quarters as electric. Dealers call them once-in-a-lifetime finds. And ordinary people, people who found them in change from a grocery store or tucked in a handful of coins at the bottom of a drawer, say the discovery felt like destiny. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, but here's the part most people still don't understand. These coins don't shout their value. They whisper it. They hide in plain sight. To the untrained eye, they look like every other quarter minted in 1980. It takes patience, focus, and knowledge to recognize the telltale signs. And once you see them, you'll never look at change the same way again. But what happened next shook even veteran collectors. As more stories spread, as more people realized that rare double-die 1980 quarters could still be out there, demand skyrocketed. Auction houses began setting records. Prices surged. Even lower-grade examples began selling for thousands. And suddenly, the coin world was locked in a frenzy. A modern quarter, something so ordinary, had transformed into $1 million treasure, and now, the question haunts every coin collector in America: could there be one in my pocket? Could I be holding a fortune without even knowing it? The answer is yes, but only if you know what to look for. So let me guide you, step by step. First, focus on the date. On genuine double-die examples, the 1980 will appear doubled, especially the 1 and the 9. Look closely under magnification. That subtle shift, that doubling, is the golden key. Next, check the lettering around the obverse, especially Liberty and In God We Trust. On rare examples, those letters also show signs of doubling, thickened, shadowed, almost trembling in the light. And finally, the P mint mark itself. In some cases, it appears off-center, tilted, or faintly doubled. That single letter, just introduced in 1980, holds the secret to a fortune. Collectors were shocked when these details first surfaced. Dealers scrambled to verify them. And now, every serious coin hunter is on the lookout, magnifying glass in hand, scanning every quarter they touch, because once you know the signs, once you train your eye, you realize something extraordinary: that $1 million coin could be anywhere. In a jar. In a register. Even in the change you get back from a morning coffee. And here's the most important thing to remember: condition matters. The higher the grade, the sharper the details, the more explosive the value. Coins preserved in uncirculated condition can sell for staggering sums. But even worn examples, with clear doubling, can change a life. So don't ignore your change. Don't dismiss a dull, ordinary quarter. Because history has already proven that one of them, just one, could carry a mistake so rare, so unbelievable, that it rewrites the meaning of pocket change forever. This isn't just about money. It's about destiny. It's about discovery. It's about the thrill of finding something so rare, so powerful, that it turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. The 1980 Mint Mark Washington quarter, with its hidden doubling and minting flaws, has sold for up to $1.3 million. This exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up being tossed aside as just another piece of loose change, but when collectors finally realized what it truly was, it shook the entire coin world. One small 1998 quarter, hiding a secret that could make it worth over $1 million. Imagine reaching into your pocket right now. Among the ordinary jingling coins, could be a quarter that doesn't just buy you a pack of gum, it could change your entire life. But how did a simple 1998 Washington quarter with a P mint mark, struck in Philadelphia, end up being worth as much as $1.4 million? The story is so strange, so unexpected, that even veteran collectors were left speechless. At first glance, it looks like any other quarter from the late 1990s. George Washington's familiar profile. The word "Liberty" above his head. The date, 1998, pressed neatly at the bottom. Nothing unusual at all. Most people spent theirs without a second thought. But this one coin was born with a mistake. A hidden flaw from the US Mint itself, and that flaw is the reason it can command life-changing prices. But here's where it gets mysterious. In 1998, the US Mint was already preparing for something monumental: the release of the 50-state quarters program in 1999. Millions of dies were being shifted, tested, and replaced. Somewhere in that chaos, a handful of quarters slipped through with details that should have never existed. Collectors started whispering about them. Rumors of double strikes, misplaced mint marks, and even an experimental finish never meant for public release. Most experts dismissed the stories, until one coin surfaced at auction. It looked ordinary at first. But under magnification, you could see it: the doubling in the lettering, the distortion on Washington's eye, the slight misalignment that told a shocking truth. This wasn't a normal quarter. It was a minting blunder that had survived unnoticed for years, and when the hammer fell at auction, the crowd gasped. That single quarter sold for nearly $1 million, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News spread like wildfire. Collectors tore through their change jars. Dealers lined up with magnifying glasses. Everyone was asking the same question: could I have one of these? Could a simple quarter in my pocket really be worth more than a house? One man in Pennsylvania did. He had a small jar of coins he'd been keeping for years. Inside was a 1998 quarter with the Philadelphia P mint mark. To the naked eye, it was nothing special. But when he looked closer, he froze. The date and lettering had a shadow effect, faint but undeniable doubling. He sent it to be graded. Weeks later, the results came back. This was one of the rare error varieties worth hundreds of thousands. His 25-cent coin became his $1 million miracle. But here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. Nobody knows how many of these 1998 P quarters are still out there. Could it be dozens? Hundreds? Or just a handful? Every time you see a quarter dated 1998 with that tiny P mint mark, you could be staring at one of the most valuable coins in America. and the shocking part is, most people spend them without ever knowing, but this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the word liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust." If the letters look thick, doubled, or slightly shadowed, you may be holding a treasure. The same goes for Washington's eye and mouth. Error coins often show ghost-like doubling there, and then there's the finish. Some rare 1998 quarters were struck using experimental dies intended for the upcoming state quarters, giving them a strange, almost proof-like shine. Collectors drool over these. To the untrained eye, it just looks extra shiny. To an expert, it's a signal that this coin could be worth over $1 million, but the story doesn't stop there. Because even now, in coin shops and estate sales across America, 1998 P quarters are still being discovered. Dealers whisper about sudden finds. Auction houses quietly prepare for bidding wars. And collectors, they keep searching, knowing that one more life-changing discovery could be made any day. Picture this. A grandmother cleaning out a drawer, handing her grandson a jar of old coins. He dumps them out, thinking they're just spending change. But nestled among them, a 1998 P quarter with the doubling that means fortune. That single moment could turn an ordinary afternoon into $1 million revelation. Collectors were shocked the first time one surfaced. They'll be even more shocked when the next one appears. It must read 1998. Then, check the mint mark, it should be a P for Philadelphia. Under magnification, look carefully at the motto, "In God We Trust," the word liberty, and the date itself. If you see doubling, like a faint shadow effect on the letters and numbers, that's your first clue. Next, examine the shine and surface. Does it look unusually proof-like, even though it's a circulation strike? That could mean it's one of the experimental pieces, but be careful, thousands of ordinary 1998 quarters exist. Don't confuse normal wear and tear with real doubling. Genuine examples are crisp, unmistakable, and authenticated by grading services. Still, the possibility lingers. That small detail could be the difference between 25 cents and over $1 million.